My wife, 35, became selfish and distant because she was secretly seeing our neighbor. I let her distance herself from me and made a decision to focus on me and what I needed and enjoyed. The marriage had become a burden on my shoulders, and I enjoy my time alone. Our stupid relationship clouded my days and made me feel like I had to solve a giant metaphorical jigsaw puzzle before I could eat or sleep. At the time, I still didn't know why my wife pulled away and limited our conversations to who was taking the trash out. That night, I was outside gardening, trying to keep myself positive when she came outside the house, smiled at someone I couldn't see, then looked around first before walking towards them. I peeked around the corner to watch her and see if I could tell who it was. It was our much older neighbor. He must have been at least 10 years older than my wife. My stomach completely flopped when he planted a huge kiss on her and tapped her bulb when she walked away. The fact that she was cheating on me with someone so close explained why she wasn't on her phone all the time. She would just go outside all the time for walks. A while ago, she stopped cooking for me. It was really annoying because I was a terrible chef, and I tried asking her to make me stuff, but she always had an excuse and said it would be better if we ate separately due to work schedule conflicts. It wasn't that much of a difference. She just wanted me to starve. So, I took the time to cook lasagna in the kitchen, leaving no space for her to make dinner for a 3-hour window. She was growing impatient, so I took this time to tell her it wasn't even for me to eat. It was for someone else. Of course, this made her wonder if I was making it for her, so she asked who it was from. And I said the older neighbor next door who was moving away. She looked confused and immediately asked if I met Tim. AP, I said. Yeah, and I thought he already told her when she was outside with him. She turned red and looked at me, but then walked away. I don't think she cared very much if I saw. So, it was good. I've been distancing myself too and chose not to worry about her or our relationship. I finally had enough happen to motivate me to move out. I was being disrespected and she did not care. There's no repairing a relationship when one person's unwilling and sleeping with the neighbor. I know she was sleeping with him because I hid in her house one day when she had him come over to bang. I recorded the audio pretty clearly and used it to file for divorce. She told me she never thought I'd actually move out or file for divorce, and she felt bad we ended how we did. That interaction with her was mild compared to 3 weeks later when AP unexpectedly passed away. Then she was hysterical, asking me to take her back because he was gone. I told her I'd have to be one gullible son of a gun if I took her up on that offer. She was no longer the woman or wife I desired, and I was going to find one. She tried to spread rumors about me in her anger, but few of her friends knew the truth and argued with her. It started this string of comments and insults against my wife's character. After she made a few enemies, she deleted the post that was intended to garner sympathy for her. Sadly, 3 weeks after AP passed away, my wife found out she was pregnant. I knew it was now my child, so she was pregnant with a deceased man. She and her mom moved in with her to help afford the house and raise the baby. It was not an arrangement she was happy with. She had no privacy and certainly a rough dating life ahead of her. She felt like it was partially my fault she was in this situation, and I thought she was crazy. I wasn't the one that cheated, and it certainly wasn't up to me to reconnect and communicate with her. I haven't felt the need to start dating again. I've just been settling into my new place and making it my next home. Now let's get into today's second story. My wife, 47 and I'm 43, had a wonderful relationship. We trusted each other, talked, cooked together, shared our incomes, and these things never changed. She knew she was extremely talented and smart, but she was humble about it. She didn't like women that loved staring in the mirror, camera on, social media, or hearing their own voices. I never noticed anything weird about her or anything I would have changed. I appreciated her and counted on our long conversations every day. We were married for 20 years and had one teenager depending on us. I knew our relationship was the perfect example for him to watch, and it made me proud. That changed the moment someone told me my wife was cheating on me. It was 25 minutes after she left for a place she volunteers in. The neighbor across from our apartment knocked on my door, said he was standing on the porch for a smoke when he saw my wife kiss a man that gave her a ride somewhere. I started pouring sweat and asked him if he was sure it was my wife. He said yes, of course. He said it wasn't the first time he saw her get in this guy's car, but it was the first time he saw a romantic gesture. I knew it was the Christian married man my wife carpooled with for volunteering. I couldn't believe he'd stoop so low and go behind his wife's back, knowing the woman he was wooing was married as well. This guy needed to face the consequences. I set up a small security camera so the next time she went with him in his car, I'd see what they did. It worked like a charm. I caught another bold kiss right in front of our apartment complex. What was my wife thinking? You don't just start kissing other people when you've been married for 20 years and have a teenage son to be an example for. When my wife got home, I showed her the video. I'm pretty sure she had to change her pants. She was mortified. She tried to say it didn't mean anything. It was just supposed to be like a friendly greeting kiss, but I wasn't buying that. I told her she had to stop volunteering so I could keep an eye on her. She agreed wholeheartedly, and I agreed not to tell her son anything yet. I certainly dreaded the thought of having to tell him his mom and I were getting a divorce. So we went everywhere together for 3 months. Then she started asking me if she could go to various places real quick, like the library, food store, gas station, a lunch run, or whatever else she thought was an innocent-sounding but disinteresting enough for me not to go. I knew she was trying to get me used to her going places without me again. I waited a while before I followed her to the gas station. She didn't need cigarettes or anything, and the car had a full tank of gas. Just as I thought, she met up with AP. She got in his car and they sped off. I was barely able to keep up. I thought for sure they'd notice my car, but neither of them did. I took pictures of her going inside his house and drove home. I walked around outside while I called the church and asked the receptionist for a PS landline number. When I called it first, no one answered. I waited 1 hour before calling again. By now, my son asked where his mom was. I told him I wasn't sure, but probably volunteering again. So now I was lying to our son, and she was going to cause us to divorce. So much for being our son's wonderful example of a married couple. I knew he could still learn something from all this when he was older, but I was bitter at the time. He went up to his room and AP's wife answered when I called the second time. I told her she wasn't going to want to hear what I had to tell her, and it would probably be better if her husband wasn't around. She said he wasn't impressed me to go on. I told her the truth and mentioned the proof I had. She was completely blown away, just like me. Her husband's behavior never changed, and they had a good marriage. I apologized and sent her the proof. AP's wife agreed to help me by playing a role in a plan to really get back at them. She showed her cheating husband the evidence, but told him he could keep the house if he signed divorce papers immediately. He agreed, but the divorce papers she put together said she could keep the house. He wasn't very observant, so she pretended to move out, staying in my apartment while her divorce papers were finalized, and AP moved my ex into his house. My son was very understanding when I explained that she really needed a place to stay. My divorce was also finalized, and the landlord took my wife's name off the apartment since she thought she was moving in with AP happily ever after. I could not believe my wife didn't care more about leaving her teenage son to live with just his father. She didn't take the time to talk with him or anything. She heard him. I know he told her she did, and when she finally called him, full of shame, that was after AP's wife returned with papers ordering them to vacate the premises. My wife begged me to let her come back, but I overheard my son on the phone with her, telling her he didn't want her to come back just to leave again. And he knew I wouldn't and shouldn't take her back. He was very mature, but I hated that he was so involved in this just because my wife needed a place to stay. Now, since they had nowhere to go for a while, they stayed in a hotel, and then AP got an opportunity to stay with someone, but he couldn't take my ex with him. He left without hesitation, giving her $50 as a parting gift. What a loser. She was left in a bad place. I think she started sleeping in the church, but no one told me anything about her, and she wouldn't talk to me or our son about her situation. I know she was feeling the consequences of losing the long-term family she helped create. I hope hearing this stops people from cheating.